And we're actually finally on this time. Well, we're actually really on this time.
I'm just gonna stay quiet and say nothing, sit here like I wasn't.
That's the funniest thing ever. I can't believe that happened, but it's brilliant. Intentional, as I said.
Yeah. So first of all, welcome along to obviously Fight Talk, talking fights. This is a UFC 222 preview and predictions. We're gonna have a little bit of reaction later on to Jon Jones and a little bit more. And of course, we'll interact as we do on these little live chats with anyone in the chats with any questions. But if anyone joined the first link, we want to apologise because Rob set it to go live and it was just me sat here. Just as well I wasn't doing anything inappropriate to myself. Yeah, so let's dive into it. The reason why we're going live today, number one, everyone's off work here in Ireland because it's snowing and the country goes into absolute meltdown, ironically. But none of the transport system works, so nobody can get to work. So me and Rob worked from home today. So one thing we didn't get to cover on Monday's show, recording on Monday, was the breakdown for UFC 222. We had such a packed show, so we said we'll set it up and have a little chat about it today. So Rob, what's the crack, mate? How are you? How did you enjoy your snow holiday today?
Yeah, it was weird. First snow holiday, working pretty much because I was in college last time it snowed really bad, 2010. That's how young I am.
That's how young, Rob.
But yeah, it was grand. It's weird working from home. I think, I don't know, it's difficult to get a lot of stuff done, even though you're trying to do it. Just so many distractions around. Even the fridge is there.
FIFA.
No.
Yeah, I found that. I was like, I think I'll have a cup of coffee. I think I'll have another cup of coffee. I think I'll have another cup of coffee. It was ridiculous. Yeah, snow holidays. So let's get into it though, and let's not keep it waiting any longer. We wanted to cover it on Monday. We didn't get a chance, but UFC 222 goes down this weekend, and none of this Sunday night card malark for us Europeans who have to go to work the next day. We are Saturday night live, and we're going to start on the opening bout of the main cards, which sees the long-awaited return of Kat Zingano taking on Ketlen Vieira. Rob, what's your initial thoughts looking at this one?
The layoff is the big thing, I think. Kat Zingano, her last fight was UFC 200, if I can remember. The yellow mat, I distinctly remember the weird yellow canvas. So that's a long time off, and before that, Kat Zingano had a long time off as well. And if you go back and look at that fight with Juliana Pena, I believe it was, it wasn't the best performance of Kat Zingano's career. It wasn't the worst. She had a good start to the first round, took Pena down, but eventually Pena, I think, the being active and being just being able to be more aggressive on the ground, get better positions, take the back, was enough to do it. But that's what really worries me with Kat Zingano going into this one, would be the time off.
Yeah, and the time off is a weird one because a lot of it was personal issues more so than, she had like an absolute horrific thing to happen to anyone. Her husband, he committed suicide, right? So it's not great. So she was away from the cage and competing due to that. But then she had a couple of niggly injuries as well. And it's like you said, against Juliana Pena, it wasn't great. The performance, ring rust, I know, the likes of Dominic Cruz, it doesn't exist. It's easy to say when you get in there and you do the business, but when you have a hard night, Juliana Pena is no walkover for anyone. But for me, Kat Zingano was one of these fighters coming up in the women's division. When you were looking at Ronda on the top, you're like, yeah, she's going to be one to really challenge Ronda. She could be the one that's going to have the tools to beat Ronda. Then when that fight came about 14 seconds later, you're like, maybe not. But I think that was just a terrible, bad game plan, poorly executed game plan, even if it was, and she got caught, and we all know what happened. But then again, that was like 2015. She had a long layoff, a year and a half before she took on Juliana Pena, and now we're coming up on a year and a half again, nearly almost 2 years coming up. So it'd be interesting to see, is she ring rusty? Has she sharpened the tools? Are we going to see evolution here as well of Kat Zingano? Will we see the new wrinkles to her game, or will we just see her get in there and sort of do the standard, what can I do to get in this position? And when you look at Dan Vieira on the other side, like her win over Sarah McMahon, we were looking at this, Rob, on Monday because we were doing a little bit of prep to get ready for breaking this down on Monday's show. But But we were like, yeah, Sarah McMahon just takes everyone down, so that's what happens. But she got taken down by Sarah McMahon. She got hammered on from top, heavy ground pounds, but she turned around the second round and gets submission by the choke. So to turn around and look at, she's 3-0 now in the UFC, 9-0 overall. So it's not an easy walk back into the cage. Welcome back, Kat. Have a warm up fight. This is a tough test against a hardened veteran here. Well, not veteran is the wrong word, but a hardened Brazilian here. So it's a tough walkout.
Yeah, like I think skill for skill, if you're looking at both of them, I would have favoured Kat Zingano. I just think that Vieira's striking doesn't look as polished as it could be. Not that Kat Zingano's ever was, but I think there's more almost purpose with her striking. She tries to get the finish. She tries to get into the clinch, and even though she doesn't necessarily have a game plan every time out, she has a purpose. She's looking for the finish all the time. Whereas if you watch that fight with McMahon, Vieira's fight with McMahon, if McMahon just had a bit more composure, I think she could have won that fight on the ground. If she was better positionally, landed better ground and pound, I think she could have got it out there, because at one point she had mount and she wasn't actually landing shots. She was looking to land shots and they just weren't landing. So I think if Kat Zingano can get into the position of get on top and land shots, I think she can do really, really well here. But the big problem is she gonna have that aggression? Is she gonna be able to do that after the time off? I'm not so sure. I'd definitely pick Zingano if there wasn't that time off. It's just something I don't like about that. I think her last performance, it looked like the time off affected her. And the time off, again, it does, as you said, it doesn't affect everybody. Dom Cruz, as you said, he came back and he looked as good as ever. But I just think, looking at that last performance, I think it did affect her. So it's hard to say it definitely won't do it this time. So that's why I'm slightly leaning towards Vieira, slightly.
Yeah, I'd like for the personal reasons of it and all that, you'd like to see Kat Zingano get back in the winning way. She definitely has the skill set for it. I really thought that she was going to be a challenger, like I said, to Ronda. The game has evolved a lot since then as well. That's one thing. The evolution of that women's division has really changed. Like Amanda Nunes is now the lioness sitting on top of with the belt. So it's a different champion. You know what I mean? It's a different. Even the fighting, the style of fighters has evolved. I've referenced this a few times on shows that women's MMA it's evolving at such a fast rate because it's so new to the big stage, the UFC. So evolution is obviously going to take toll pretty early. They're gonna, like the way we used to have the classic grappler versus striker, and women's MMA has sort of evolved from that. It was a little bit like that for a long time. Don't get me wrong, Ronda Rousey, people say she's a one trick pony, but what a trick it was. And eventually people caught it on and got around how to do it, and the women's has evolved then. So that's evolution. Would be my concern for Kat Zingano here as well. Is she going to be the older dinosaur in comparison to the young upcoming fighter? That was a long-winded analogy, but I got there. But I'm going to go with Kat Zingano, because you know what, I believe in fairy tale stories, and Kat Zingano is going to get it done. I was brought up on Roald Dahl and Cinderella and all that malark, and that stuff has fairy tales, and let's give Kat Zingano a fairy tale, because she's deserved it for the life that she's lived the last couple of years and the stuff that she's had to go through. So purely on her skill set is phenomenal as well. Like, I'm not just saying that, but just purely on her story, I'd love to see Kat Zingano get her hand raised on Saturday night.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there, and yeah, I was picking Zingano all the way up, and I'm still in my head, before I make me pick, I'm still thinking about it, because like, you look at the girl she was fighting before she took that time off, 100% it's way better than what Vieira's been fighting. And some of them close fights, the Kelly Fashholtz, I'm not sure if that's how you explain it, or that's how you pronounce it, but that was a close fight, close split decision, and didn't look all that impressive. To be fair, it didn't look all that impressive in the McMahon fight up until the finish.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's really for me, it's really the, will Kat Zingano look as good as she did prior to her last fight, or will she not? I'm gonna say she will. I'm going Kat Zingano. You convinced me.
Talks herself into it there. I'm just telling you nice fairy tale stories, and you see,
it was Cinderella.
Even Northsiders have fairy tale endings. Look,
very good.
Just normally ends with a bag of stuff. Moving up the card, we go into the heavyweight division then, and this is a really, really weird fight for me. You've Stefan Struve taking on Andrei Arlovski, and in some ways you're going, geez, Arlovski's still going, you know. He's been on the end of some horrendous finishes, and then he had a resurgence in his career, and he's currently riding. He won his last fight. He can't call it a win streak. It was one fight, so he is coming in with a victory behind him. And then you have Stefan Struve, who was, Stefan Struve was a real. He'd win a couple, lose a couple, win a couple, lose a couple. Always when he fought the next level guy. If you got me saying that, he has a win over the current champion of the division, but when you look at the likes of when he came up against your Mark Hunt, your Alistair Overeems, he'd fall short. But then he had this crazy. It was like a heart issue, wasn't it? It was almost he was getting palpitations and everything backstage. He was due to fight. Was he due to fight Alistair Overeem?
You might be right.
Matt Mitrione. I think it was Matt Mitrione, was it? And he sort of had a weird panic attack backstage, and he fainted and all backstage. As far as I remember, I could be wrong. That it's either. I think it's Matt Mitrione, but so this is what I'm saying. He's in a weird position now. He seems to have had a good few fights back since then, but it's such a weird fight to call and to sort of to think about with the two of them are win lose, and again, you got to look at Josh Barnett absolutely destroyed Arlovski. Francis Ngannou does what Francis Ngannou does the most, and then Tabure, he lost a unanimous decision, but it was a unanimous decision. But it's a weird one about where they both are in their career. Arlovski could, if he keeps it standing. Every time I look at Stefan Struve, it's almost like he reminds me of them big blow up things outside car sales places. That every time he gets hit, his whole body really shows the shot landed because he always goes way back. You know what I mean? But reach would be a big thing here. Obviously, when you're fighting someone like Stefan Struve, how tall he is, and the long dexterity he has, and there's just the spam he'd have. So. I don't know. I'm edging on this one. I'm not too sure, so I'll let you say your bit and see. Can you swing me either way?
Yeah, it's a weird one. Like, I don't feel comfortable picking either guy in 2018. Stefan Struve, of course, as you said, he had that. He had heart surgery in the end. It was a very serious thing, and he came back and he did fight. As far as I remember, I can double check it now. His first fight back, he did win, but then he ran into Volkov. Volkov is a good fighter, but he got beat up pretty bad. And I'm pretty sure, like, it's not the first time, it's probably about the sixth or seventh time that we've said Andrei Arlovski is done. Andrei Arlovski is done.
Yeah. And
then he beats Junior Albini, who, for some people, and even me at a certain point, I was kind of like, oh, maybe this guy is going to contend at some point. And Andrei Arlovski went in with a really good game plan and beat him. And now we're thinking again, is it another resurgence? Is he back?
Yeah.
What I like about Andrei Arlovski lately, he's kind of fought with, as I said, with good game plans. He's fought behind his jab. He's fought, on the feet with his boxing, technically wise. He hasn't just been getting into brawls, although sometimes that can happen. But I think with Stefan Struve, he gets beat by a lot of guys who are just slightly better boxers than him. Yeah. And I think that could be what happens here. We always talk about Stefan Struve's range, and it is there.
He doesn't use it, yeah.
Doesn't really use it a whole lot. Andrei Arlovski is usually very good at getting in on range against bigger guys because he's always been fighting bigger guys. He knows how to play that game. So I'm actually siding towards
Matt Brown here, I suppose, is a good example of that, really.
Yeah.
Or not Matt Brown, Travis Brown.
Matt Brown, yeah. Matt Brown, yeah, that'd be crazy. So I am kind of siding towards Andrei Arlovski, crazy enough. I don't like picking him in 2018, as I said. It's crazy to think that he's still around, but yeah, I'm siding towards Andrei Arlovski in this one. I just think that he's going to be able to land the better shots, and Stefan Struve has never had the best chin in the world. Not Andrei Arlovski's chin is all that great anymore, but weirdly enough, I'm siding towards Andrei Arlovski.
I think you nailed it though as well though with what Arlovski does. He can fight behind the jab, similar to what Alistair Overeem used to do when he trained under under when he was training with Bass Rutten and stuff like that. And Bass Rutten used to say, like, when he was training, they always used to tell him, get your hand back because you've no chin. They used to tell him, you've no chin, get your hand back. But like, I don't know, it's fucking hard when you look. Like, when you look at his last 6 fights, I know we're saying he beat Albini, right? But you've got a loss to Ngannou, Barnett, Overeem, Stipe. Do you know what I mean? They're all losses and they're all finishes. Now Marcin Tybura isn't, but they're all finishes. I don't know. Like Stefan Struve, sometimes he can use his clinch work and he uses that Dutch kickboxing style. And he can look excellent with that. And I have to be honest, if this fight was 4 years ago, I'd probably be picking Alistair Overeem, would I? Arlovsky. I would probably be picking Arlovsky here. But just with time, I'm going to go with the younger man. I've done this so many times and been wrong so many times that it doesn't really work out that way. But I just think Arlovsky, he's too old. I don't know. He's been on the end of some heavy shots. He'll come out and look magnificent. But
that's generally what happens with Arlovsky.
Yeah, I can see Struve tying him up and doing him in the clinch with them knees like Dal Sim. Do you know what I mean? Just lifting him up and pinging that head and putting the lights out of Arlovsky. So I'm gonna go with Stefan Struve on that one myself, Rob.
What I'll say is before we move on to the next one, give your predictions here. We're not taking questions right now because we just want to get through the card, talk about, and then we'll take questions on the fights or randomly. Black Guys Production, when does obviously Shy Talk start? That'll be at the end. That'll be at the end.
About Batman and everything the last time. Yeah, we went to the Rogue on our last live chat.
If you want to ask some weird questions at the end, we'll go with it.
That's weird. Sean O'Malley, your man, Rob, you're enjoying watching Sean O'Malley fighting. He's taking on Andrei Shokomantat.
No, although you did say it, how you say Sukumta.
Sukumta, there we go. There's once I'm told him that. Sukumta, Andrei Sukumta. Sean O'Malley, you're excited by him, but as we were talking to Name Drop Moment, Jimmy Smith during the week, Jimmy was saying that, Sean O'Malley is one of these guys that he's really uber impressive for fans to watch, and the fans kept on going, oh my god, but he has so many holes in his game. He leaves himself so vulnerable that he could get countered, and it's when that counter comes is what's going to finish him. Is Andre going to bring that counter?
Potentially. That was a great point by Jimmy. That's one thing when we're doing kind of study on these fights going into it. Sean O'Malley is, I'm not comparing him to Sage Norco, I'm not, but what I was going to say was that
because he's white with curly hair.
No, Sage Norco doesn't have curly hair, spiky hair.
Yeah, well, I was just going with the whole white thing. Remember last time you're like, you're tired on that reference is racist.
The reason why I say it is that he does a lot of things very, very well, and he's very flashy. And Sean O'Malley, while I think he's a better fighter at the stage than Sage Norco, it's a similar thing, like where he does a lot of things very, very well, very flashy, can get these crazy knockouts. I remember before the UFC, I think it was his last fight before the UFC, he landed this spinning back kick to the face, spinning roundhouse kick to the face, just completely knocked the other guy out. It was amazing. But you did see in a couple of his fights, I believe in his last fight, Sean O'Malley, where when he gets pressured, he doesn't have the time to really play his own game. He can get a little bit frustrated, can start swinging very wildly. So possibly Sukumta is that kind of guy who is very, you're not going to say basic, but he's what would you say, traditional in his kickboxing game, real traditional kickboxing game. So you never know, something like that could happen when he gets wild, when Sean O'Malley gets wild.
It's O'Malley's a weird one for me, because I remember when he was in that Dana White Contenders. What was it called? Was that what it's called? Dana White
Contender Series, yeah.
Yeah, whatever it was. And I remember watching him and I was like, oh boy, this kid is out wide open for counters. But he's that ultra aggressive that he has it. But like when you look at Andre, a lot of his shots, he's lovely body shots, like he digs into that liver, something that Brendan Dorman was talking about in one of his breakdowns recently, the liver shots, and he really grinds to the body as well. He plants he sits down heavy on the feet and really digs them hooks into the body, and he can follow them up then with uppercuts as well. He's got nice kicks as well, but he works as well. You'll notice a lot when I watch him that a lot of it works similar to what you were saying about the jab. He works behind the jab, but he always gets it straight back as well, so his defense seems to be a lot sounder than what O'Malley's would be. But I think he's got good speed, good elbows on the ground, good ground and pound. So I'm going to go with the Asian sensation in this one. And I think he'll finish O'Malley. He's going to choo-choo, knock it off the rails, the old hype train. That's not really a huge hype train, but I just think he's got sort of everything. He's got good steps, he's got good ground and pound. He's sort of more good everywhere in comparison to O'Malley, while O'Malley, his aggression is what he seems to go off, and he power at that division as well, by the way. But I don't know, I just like the look of the Asian sensation in this one.
The reason why I'm going to pick O'Malley, so that's my pick, is because sometimes Sukum Tav, you look at his last one, and it was something that was called out on the broadcast. I can't remember who was on the call. I think it might have been Paul Felder. Was that he can get kind of behind in rounds really easily. He's a really reactive fighter. He'll let the other guy take control of the fight, and he'll try to react to that with counters, and that worked for him against Luke Sanders, where he landed that big shot. But I just think if you give Sean O'Malley a little bit too much room, give him too much room to work, let him take a lead, and even if he doesn't win by knockout, which is possible, I just think taking that lead, he's going to get that confidence, and it's going to be harder and harder to try land a counter or try get back into the fight late. So that's why I'm going to go with Sean O'Malley. And
how are you doing it?
I'm going to say a finish. I'm going to say a finish. I'm going to say a second round finish. I think maybe he'll just catch him with something, because I think if Sean O'Malley does get ahead early, I think he'll want to get back into the fight, might leave himself open, and Sean O'Malley will just land something weird as he kind of does.
Okay, so we're disagreeing here, Rob. This is great. I love when we disagree. Your co-main event sees Frankie Edgar taking on T-City Brian Ortega. I talked about Brian Ortega a while back, before his Cub fight, was it? I think I mentioned, I said I think this is the one guy in the 45 division that's really going to challenge Max Holloway, and then they put Frankie Edgar in front of him. I think Frankie Edgar has to be, and I don't think people do it out of badness. I just think not similar to Arlovsky, but similar where I think people just underrate Frankie Edgar so much. I think he's the most underrated fighter. He's had a lot of title shots recently. It's almost like Frankie Edgar's fighting. Who's he fighting for the title? That's almost like what it seems to be. He's had a lot of bad luck as well, with fighters falling out from him in certain fights and certain situations. But if you look at it, his current wins over Jeremy Stevens, you look what Stevens has done to Josh Emmett over the weekend, and Rodriguez getting the win as well by knockout. A lot of people thought, it was too early for Yar, and they ran like this. They were building this young hype machine up in Rodriguez, and they stuck him in front of Frankie Edgar. So what's going to be different here for Brian Ortega? A lot of people, including me, are singing Brian Ortega's praises. What's going to be different here? Why is Frankie not going to win this one, Rob, or is he going to win this one, Rob?
I'll reserve some time to make a pick. But yeah, I completely get that. And when we had Jimmy Smith on Monday, if you haven't watched that, check it out. He said a very, very similar thing, that Frankie Edgar, this is the type of fighter that Frankie Edgar can be. It's a guy who doesn't mind being on the floor. He doesn't mind being on his back. And at times we've seen, look at Yair Rodriguez. When he was on his back, Frankie Edgar dealt with everything that he had. So I think what you're looking at here is how good is Brian Ortega off his back, and how good is Frankie Edgar on top, because I think it will hit the floor. Brian Ortega, I don't know whether you want to say he has bad takedown defense or he just doesn't mind being taken down, but he gets taken down quite a bit. But a lot of the time he'll sweep when he hits the floor, or he'll get a submission.
Yeah, that's what I think it is. I think he doesn't mind getting taken down, because that's where he swims. You know what I mean? He loves it there. And you have to look like. I was as everyone, if anyone's watching here, Brendan Dorman is a regular feature on our show, and Brendan does the breakdowns, and he'd always say, "Did you watch the breakdown? What you think?" And I was sort of praying, please don't ask me. Did he ask me? Did I watch the TCD one? Please don't ask me, because I haven't watched it yet. And I started watching it today, and it's that Brendan absolutely drew out of me when he talked about Ortega to me before, was that a lot of people think he's this one-dimensional guy. He's got submissions. That's all he's got. Look back at his fights. He lives in the madness. Like, a scramble looks like he's scrambling, but he will somehow manage to pull out that submission, grab a neck, grab a leg, and then when he's standing, his striking looks a little off, but it's not. It's controlled aggression. His setups, his clinch, he is devastating in the clinch.
Yeah.
elbows on the ground, and while he does it, like he's happy to beat the shit out of you, but if you present your neck, he's going to take that. So that's where I think the big challenge here is for Frankie Edgar, is in on the feet. Ortega's going to be much bigger. He's going to be much longer. Frankie might have the speed and the change of levels, but with Frankie Edgar, when he was taking down people, if he was taking down most people, you go, right, it's in Frankie's wheelhouse now. But when he takes Brian Ortega, yes, you are in the dominant position if you are on top. But holy shit, you've got to watch everything that Brian Ortega is throwing up, because I can guarantee you he's going to be going for heel hooks, knee bars, head and arm triangles from the bottom, triangles. Like his triangle is he's T-City because of Triangle City, basically. He's sick off his back. So will Frankie want to get involved in that? It wouldn't surprise me if Frankie goes down the route of, landing some combinations, the real quick Frankie in and out, create angles, get a quick takedown, land a takedown, land shots, and get back up and sort of tire Ortega out that way. But man, Frankie Edgar, almost what you were saying, people write Frankie Edgar off when he lost to Jose. You know what I mean? When he's lost fights in the past, people going, Frankie's done, he's finished. And then Frankie Edgar comes back, man, and looks better than he ever has. And he certainly looked that way in his last two fights against Jeremy Stevens and Rodriguez, who derailed your other high trainer on board, Rob. Yeah. But
although I did pick Frankie Edgar,
this is a very tough fight for me to call. I think I'm going with my original from a good while back when Ortega, when I said Ortega is the one guy that's going to challenge Max Holloway. But I genuinely think that this is an incredible fight for him. Both incredibly difficult, but incredible to set you up to fight Max Holloway. Like, who can you? If you have a win over Frankie Edgar, if you walk off MMA mats, you're doing pretty well, because Frankie Edgar's beating the guy who's beating the guy who's beating the guy. So if he was to get a big win over Frankie Edgar, and that would carry him in to a match against Max Holloway, how big would that matchup be? Considering he'd be 14-0 going into the fight with Max Holloway. Max Holloway has sort of beaten everybody in that division, is doing really well, and this is the new challenge. So I want to see, I think I will see Ortega Holloway further down the line, but he's got to get it done against Frankie Edgar, and it's going to be an incredible fight. It's going to be an absolute incredible fight. And if you're a gambling man, I believe it's round 2, is it round 2 that Ortega likes to finish most of his fights in? I'll check that out. You're even yours. Well, I'm going Ortega, and he's going to get it. He's going to get it done. It's round 3. He actually gets a lot of his fights done.
Well, good pick. I think it's a really tough fight to pick. And the crazy thing about it is, or the crazy thing about Brian Ortega's jiu-jitsu is not like how high level it was to do like certain things when he switched the hands on that guillotine, or the sweeps that he pulls off, but just how simple he grabbed that guillotine initially on Cub Swanson. He just wrapped his head. There's not many guys. That's kind of tells you how good he is. That Cub Swanson, who has seen everything in jiu-jitsu and in MMA jiu-jitsu, and Brian Ortega could just wrap his head up against the cage in a clinch. Like, who does that? There's not many people who can do that. So taking that into account and saying, oh, well, Frankie Edgar has seen everything on the floor, but maybe he hasn't seen some of the stuff that Brian Ortega can do. Maybe he hasn't competed with guys that are doing stuff that Brian Ortega are doing. I don't know. It's a weird one. It's a very difficult fight to pick. On instincts and on previous fights, I'm looking at Frankie Edgar is going to be able to get a takedown. I think it's going to be very difficult to submit him off your back, because he's never been in trouble there. He has never really been in trouble. He has great jiu-jitsu and always passes, and when he gets a takedown, generally it's not in the guard. Generally it's like half guard or side control or something like that. So it's a really tough one. I'm going Frankie Edgar. I'm going to go Frankie Edgar.
Oh, jeez, we're really disagreeing here. This is fantastic.
Yeah, this is great. I'm going Frankie Edgar over 3 rounds decision. It's a 3-round fight. I think if it was 5 rounds, maybe there's more space there for Ortega to get something. But who knows? Maybe Ortega can just grab a triangle really early, or finish him on the feet, because Frankie Edgar has been dropped.
Man. Yeah, don't underestimate his kicking game.
Yeah.
Do not underestimate his kicking game and his hands. He comes from a boxing background as well, Ortega.
Yeah, and
so
he lands
I
nicely
think
in
he'll
the
have to
body
mix
as
it up.
well. But there's just moments when you see, and not that he cares about being taken down. That's probably why he does it. He'll jump straight into range where somebody can shoot a takedown on him and stuff like that. I just think Frankie Edgar's going to be able to survive on the floor, do enough to get takedowns and stay on top, and just ride out a decision. But I wouldn't be surprised either way, to be honest. Really wouldn't.
Your main event is Cyborg. Basically, is this a lamb to the slaughter fight? Is Yana Kunitskaya? That's it. Kunitskaya. Is Yana Kunitskaya the lamb to the slaughter, or does she have a chance?
I don't see her winning the fight at all. I really don't. Lamb to the slaughter, I think it's hard to say, because you could probably say that about 90% of the division. You could argue that point. So picking out her as the lamb to the slaughter is, you're probably just saying, well, that whole division is not matched well with Cris Cyborg. So yeah, I don't think there's any secret. I'm gonna pick Cris Cyborg, but who knows? Like Kunitskaya, good striking, comes from a taekwondo background. She keeps range pretty well, but I'm not sure if she does it quite as well as Holly Holm, and Holly Holm couldn't beat her. So I find it difficult to see where she wins this one.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like she's, is that feather? She's normally competing. It's a bantamweight.
Yeah.
So she's coming up to featherweight. So it'll be interesting to see the size difference. From the footage I've seen of her, kind of Sky, she seems to come forward almost like punch for step, if you know what I mean. She just sort of walks the punches in, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I just think if you do that, you're opening yourself so much up to Cyborg. But like Cyborg is just as you said, I think you summed it up perfectly. I think Holly Holm's a better kickboxer here, being honest, than Yana. So if Holly Holm couldn't get it done, and she is a kickboxing and boxing background, I don't see what chance Yana has here. But in saying that, it's a fight game, and it's one of these fights where everybody thought Ronda Rousey was unbeatable.
Yeah.
And then bang, head kick city, and good night, Ronda's gone, and now she plays fighting instead. So it's I just don't see how. I don't see the tools she has from the footage I've seen. Now, I have to admit, a lot of the footage I've seen is grainy footage of her, but it doesn't look like someone. It is. It's real grainy. It's on YouTube, bleeding. Someone sitting there with their Nokia 5210. You know what I mean? I like to film fights. So it's a bit like when I seen footage, I didn't sit up and go, she's got a chance here. You know what I mean? I wasn't thinking that, and so I just think Cyborg will get it done, and I think she'll get it done within inside 2 rounds. Yeah,
like if you're gonna build a fighter to be Cyborg, she just doesn't seem like that fighter. She's had some good performances, but yeah.
Tinfoil hat moment.
Okay.
I think this is just a warm up for you. Cyborg taking over until summer, till she fights Amanda Nunes in a super fight.
Yeah, maybe. Like to be fair, they needed a main event, so they probably went to all the champions available. Give us a fight.
Quite ironic, though, isn't it? That not too long ago, Dana White was slaying Cyborg, and now he's the poster girl for women's MMA.
Yeah, it's crazy how things change. So yeah, Cris Cyborg is my pick. But you never know. You really never know, especially these weird unknown fights. Not unknowns, but you know what I mean. Like it's not a girl who was really in line to challenge, kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's pulled out of nowhere. But the UFC needed a main event. Yeah. They pulled it out. I don't know why Frankie and Thing couldn't have been a main event great fight, but like as in they're panicking. I think Frankie is a great fight.
They want title fights to be main events for some reason.
Yeah.
Well, not for some reason, because
And out on the undercard, Rod, that you want to talk about, or Jesus, it's Mike Pyle has said he's knocking it on the head when he's finished, when this fight's over. I know you're not a big fan of fighters before the fight saying that they're finishing up, but it'd be nice to see that the fairy tale we were talking about earlier with a thing. We'd nice to see Mike Pyle go out in a victory with him.
He's always been one of the best, most exciting guys at 170. Has great wins. Great wins.
You can't say that. Think of that.
I'm looking forward to Cody Stamen against Brian Caraway. That could be a great fight. That's a big fight for Cody Stamen, who is unranked at the moment, but I believe Brian Caraway is like 6 or 7, ranked 6 or 7. So a win there.
It's a fight Cody Stamen called for when he was on with us.
Yeah, he was on our show. Yeah, on our show after he beat Tom Ducamore.
Yeah, he said he wants Brian Caraway just because he doesn't like the guy.
Yeah, and he thinks he matches up well with him, so that could be a good one. Yeah. Hector Lombard, CB Dollaway.
Yeah. You gotta. I'm sick of picking Hector, man. So that made me a win. CB here for me would be one of that. Jon Dodson the way down the card as well. I always like watching Jon Dodson. He's always entertaining, you know.
Yeah, but, he's good against Pedro Munoz as well. That's a good fight.
Yeah,
that's
a really good fight.
Yeah,
excellent fight, and way down the card, like.
Yeah, great fight. Some really good ones, and then of course the main event of the prelim card, Mackenzie Dern's UFC debut against Ashley Yoder. If you don't know who Mackenzie Dern is, she is one of the best jiu-jitsu players in women.
She tapped out Gabby Garcia. That'll tell you what she done. She finished Gabby Garcia, and Gabby Garcia has about 70 kgs on her.
Probably, yeah.
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 Yeah, so that's how good Dern is. But that's UFC 222 going down this weekend. So if you're Team Rob, stick no money on it because he won't win. If you're Team me, you're probably not going to win either, in fairness. I have gone brutal at picks. But I'm going Katzagano, I'm going Stefan Struve, I'm going the Asian Sensation, I'm going Brian Ortega and Cyborg. While Rob's going Cyborg, Edgar, O'Malley, Orlovsky. You went Zingano, didn't you, for the fairy tale?
Zingano at the end, yeah.
Grand. So that'd be interesting. I'm going to throw a sneaky tenner on that and see what I get out. It'll be a sneaky tenner. I'd imagine I could leave Cyborg off the dock and I'll get exactly back the same winnings.
Yeah, probably.
That's how I'd imagine the bookies are looking at that. Yeah. But a couple of other interesting things went down this week. We touched on one thing briefly, Rob. While I was talking about play fighting, I said I'll lead myself into this. So we talked about it briefly on Monday, Tuesday. I keep saying Monday. Monday's when we record, so it comes out on Tuesday. But on Monday when we record, and we spoke about Brock Lesnar could be making a return. I actually opened our show this week. One of Rob's favourite comments is about he shoved a horseshoe up Frank Mir's ass or something. Now he's got a horseshoe up his ass. So Paul Eltney bet him over the head with it or something. But Brock Lesnar and Dana White is quoted as saying that it's looking very, very good. The chances are very, very good for him to come back. This was, of course, after Dana Instagram a picture with Brock wearing the UFC t-shirt, but God only knows when that picture was taken, in fairness, and it could be just Dana poking the fires, poking the flames. Yeah. But well, let's talk about it a little bit more. What do we think? Brock Lesnar, he'd be a great addition. Well, something we said on Monday, though, Rob, is we're not too sure of how he is with suspension and stuff.
Yeah.
He still has 6 months. So he'd come back and have 6 months. So if he was to, when's that WWE event, that big thing that all the nerds watch? What's that?
March, April? Late March, I think.
April, March, whatever it is. It's
All the nerds watch.
You hold the nerds. But yeah, it's basically, that's his last fight in there. So if he was, and he could technically sign with the UFC, but he then has to sit out for 6 months. So, he'd have to re-enter the USADA pool. He'd obviously have to filter out all the stuff in his system, come back into the USADA pool, and then come back into the UFC. But yeah, I think Brock Lesnar will be a huge shot in the arm.
Nice.
Oh, God's sake. It'll be a huge shot in the arm for the UFC because they are currently struggling for superstars, and there's no doubt. I know I'm being quite tongue in cheek and saying fake fighting. I'm just not into it, lads. But he's a huge star, and it would bring a huge set of eyes back to the UFC. And let's be honest, I think the most honest of mixed martial arts fans are. It's not a freak show fight, but you want to see Brock back in the heavyweight division. He brings that something to it, He brings a bit of madness because just his sheer size alone.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what people, if anyone's in the chat there, what they think of it. But I'd love it. I'm sure people like Mark Hunt would love it, and people who maybe think he's still on some kind of Mexican supplement, as they say, would love it. But just from a pure fan or media or anyone who covers or watches MMA, it'd be a great thing just because you'll get a bit of buzz around the sport with Brock Lesnar in it. You're just going to get that, and that's always a good thing. So I'd welcome it. Dana White saying that, it's looking good, probably doesn't really mean a whole lot. Like, it's probably the exact same status as it was when we spoke about it on Monday or Tuesday, whatever way you want to go with it. But I'd love to see it. He doesn't even have to be a contender in the division. Like, he probably could be. He probably could be up there with some of the better guys. I don't think he's gonna be, close to beating anyone like not Junior Dos Santos, but Stipe Miocic. But like, if he fights somebody fun in that division, why not? Fight someone fun.
Yeah, I think there's loads of opportunities and loads of fights out there, in fairness, in the division. And again, I think if you are a heavyweight in the heavyweight division, you want to fight Brock Lesnar. The amount of eyes that will be on that fight. So for the opponent, yes, I know like the Mark Hunt thing and all that, but like I said it jokingly on Monday night as well. I said, they can get him in, they can get him fight, they can make all the money off it, he can piss hot and then they go, oh no, terrible, but they get that big event. But like, I do think for an opponent of Brock Lesnar, it's a great opportunity to fight such a big name. It just makes sense. It's the red panty fight of the heavyweight division, you could say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of Mexican supplements, Jon Jones was in front of the California State Commission, Athletic State Commission, I should say, or the California State Athletic Commission, even though. And it looks like Jon Jones, it's already looking good for him, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not looking good, and he got his license revoked, which is probably what was going to be expected. Now he can reapply, but
yeah,
the whole thing is, it looks like they're leaving it down to USADA because he has to be sentenced by USADA. So it looks like the commissioner like, we'll leave the actual suspension sentencing down to them. So we'll have to see what happens there to see the extent of how long he's going to be out. But what was it, 250,000 as well? He got fined, something like that. Yeah. So decent amount of money, but yeah, it just looks like, considering that was probably one of the worst things that could have happened, even though it was I suppose he didn't get the suspension, they're leaving that down. Considering he got that, you're probably looking at USADA and he might get some kind of suspension as well. So I think it's going to be some time before we see Jon Jones back in the cage anyway.
What did you think about them? They were basically pushing out, are you going to leave your management or what?
Yeah, they were asking weird questions, and I understand, like, you have to kind of not leave any stone unturned, whatever way you want to say it, but they were asking some weird questions, like
but to quote where he says, you can call me many things, you can call me a party boy, a wild child, a knucklehead, but a cheater is something that I'll never admit to. And then he realised that actually sounds a bit mad, and then he was like, that's something I'll never say that I am, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just so ill-advised.
Did you also see when they asked him, did he take the USADA course thing? Did you see that?
No.
Like, I think USADA do some kind of educational course of, how to take your supplements, or like how to have them tested. I don't know what exactly it is. I don't know what's in it, but they have some kind of course for fighters. And they asked him, did he take it? And he said no, but like he had a signed thing of saying that he took it. He said that his management forged his signature onto it or something like
that. Jon Jones.
Yeah.
Like, he's even, I don't know, I'm reading it here as I'm talking, and I'm going, Jesus. Yeah, 4 or 5 on my say. It's just, I don't know. He is a badly advised person, I think. But
he didn't come off the best.
It's a pity because I think he's the best to ever do it.
Potentially, yeah. Potentially.
Potentially. Like, and
yeah,
it's with an asterisk beside it now, isn't it?
Yeah, like, it is a shame, You'd want to see these guys in there. If they're taking something, then they can't be in there, basically. But it's just a shame that this actually happened, because you want to see Jon Jones, like, how good he was, and apparently a lot of them fights he wasn't even training very hard. Like the Gustafsson fight,
he was saying he was partying. Remember, he turned around to Daniel Cormier and he's like, "Man, I beat you when I was partying and doing coke the week before." And you're like, "What, John?"
Yeah. What are you saying? Yeah. He's an absolute nut job. I see MMA Mix said that Jon Jones looked guilty as hell. He did, to be fair. He did look like an innocent man.
He looked like the school child who was caught doing whatever and called to the principal's office, and he just sat there going, It's not good, and his defense was terrible. Like, you know what I mean? Come up with something better. You know,
he didn't really have a
terrible.
defense. He kind of had. He was kind of saying that he didn't knowingly do it, and he brought up a guy to prove that he didn't knowingly do it or something like that. But there was no like concrete defense really there. You know, there was nothing that he could latch onto, and I'm pretty sure the start of it, the name is left me, but basically the head of the CSAC gave his recommendation, and that's what he finished with. So nothing that Jones said, nothing his defence said really changed anything. The sentence.
Talking about a nice little segue here, Rob. Talking about somebody that we won't see in the octagon, we'll move on to Chuck Liddell. Dana White has basically said that Chuck Liddell, he's not going to promote. He says, I love Chuck, but 50 years old, he shouldn't be fighting. So Dana White has basically said he's not willing to promote this fight. And it's something that you actually said, Rob, on Tuesday, whatever way you want to look at it, folks. You said, you know, in a way it's good that Dana White is still in the UFC because you think he'd have Chuck Liddell's best interest at heart, and with what Dana White has said, it seems to be. But at the same time, it's something that Chuck Mindenhall mentioned. He said sometimes the UFC throws stuff out there to see how it goes down in the public mind, and then they might roll out with it. So it wouldn't surprise me if it made a lot of money. I can guarantee you Dana White probably would. You'd like to think he wouldn't, but for me right now, I'm happy. We sort of said we're scumbags. We've no interest in it. So I have no interest in that, but if it was on the telly, I'd watch it because I'm a scumbag of a person. But I don't have an interest in seeing Chuck Liddell. What I love watching Chuck Liddell is I love nostalgia. I love clicking on the odd fight to the UFC Unleashed or something, and you see Chuck Liddell fight and you go, oh man, wasn't Chuck Liddell deadly? I don't want to see Chuck Liddell against Rashad Evans or Chuck Liddell against Rich Franklin, because that's where it all just started going downhill. And if he fights, like, imagine Chuck if he came back and lost to Tito. Imagine how annoying that annoyed Chuck Liddell. But it's just a fight that I just don't want to see.
Nobody likes Indiana Jones' Kingdom of a Crystal Skull, and that's what it'll be. Just awful.
Was that the one with Shia LaBeouf, was it?
Yeah, with the...
That was my favourite Indiana Jones.
I hope you're joking.
Oh, it wasn't.
Good. Yeah, I'm glad. I don't think Dana White would do it. I really don't. I think the stance that he took over the years, I genuinely believe, and I know that Dana White isn't the most truthful of people, it seems, or at least, you know, he's a promoter, so he can't really tell everybody the whole truth every time. But I do believe him when he says he doesn't want to promote a Chuck Liddell fight. Now, if the higher ups of him now go and say, well, we'd actually want that, what'd happen, who knows? But I'm glad that that's there. Scott Coker said he would do it if possible.
Yeah, Bellator. Yeah, sure, why not?
I think that's a bad look for Bellator, personally.
Well, in fairness, they've won half of them fighting. Like, Tito fought recently, and it was Tito's last fight was Chael Sonnen, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He tapped, like.
Yeah.
He tapped that fight, yeah.
Yeah, that one, yeah.
Here we go again. But so, you know, Bellator, realistically, they already have the fighter signed. So if it was more realistic for either one to do it, it would be Bellator. Would Bellator do something like that? Damn right they would. They had fucking Dada 2,000 or 5,000 against Kimbo Slice, you know what I mean? And the craziness. I'd like to see Bellator get away from that, but, you know what I mean? Again, the whole appeal is money, and like people would watch Chuck Liddell, and that's the sad news. Is even an aged Chuck Liddell, people will watch. And look, he looks in phenomenal shape, by the way, but at the same time, your body just gets old, and his chin is gone, man. He's in the shadow realm. Barry Keegan nailed it. He's in the shadow realm. He lives there. So let him stay there. I wouldn't like to see him back in the cage. Another segue to here, Rob. See, I'm nailing this. Somebody that might be back in the cage or might not be back in the cage is Michael Bisping. He's basically been speaking on Believe You Me podcast, where he said he'd love to fight Luke Rockhold. It's the fight that would interest him in a swan song. And he basically, what Mike said was, if that motherfucker wants to throw down at 205, yeah, we can entertain that, buddy. Bisping said, I've got no problem knocking you out again. At 205, he's sort of saying, and then he does mention that he'll do 85, but the offer has to be right as well, further down. If you listen to Believe You Me, buddy, Bisping goes off in it. But what do you think, Rockhold, Bisping's farewell song, considering who do they look like they had lined up? Machida, it looked like they were possibly
Machida, they were looking at, obviously, Vitor, the first one. There was a few people. Rashad was one as well. Rashad Evans. So it seems like every time that we go to a Michael Bisping last fight, not announcement but suggestion, I suppose, I just keep saying, yeah, makes sense. It does make sense. Like there's no doubt about it. Like they've fought twice, they're one apiece. It makes sense to do the third. I would probably honestly prefer the Rashad fight or something else, just because I think Luke Rockhold, even though he lost his last one, I think at this stage is probably a little bit further ahead than Michael Bisping. We know Michael Bisping's going to retire, so a win for Michael Bisping over Luke Rockhold is not good for Luke Rockhold, obviously.
Yeah.
And Michael Bisping's not around. Whereas like Rashad Evans, whoever wins that, Rashad Evans isn't in the title picture, isn't around the title picture. It's not going to really matter. So I just think promotionally, I think the Rockhold one, although it makes sense that they could do the rubber match, and I'd probably prefer something else. But I'm not going to say no. It's a good fight, but you'd probably fancy Rockhold, I assume.
Yeah, you would do. In fairness, you would, considering looking at Bisping's last couple of fights. But in saying that, I just think he came back too early from GSP when he was fighting Gastelum. So I just thought he came back too early. So I think if he had a full camp, I'm not saying the result will be different. I just don't think it will go down the same way. So yeah, I'm not too sure with that one. But yeah, Bisping, he's sort of saying, he has money, does he need to fight? If that's the case, don't fight, man. Just a couple of quick things because we're going to wrap. Justin Buchholz has basically said that he's left Team Alpha Male. There was a while back that it looked like he had, and then Uriah Faber said something along the lines of, no, he just takes kickboxing class now.
What did he say? Sorry.
He basically he moved into kickboxing. He wasn't the head coach, he was the kickboxing coach.
Oh yeah.
But now Justin Buchholz has said he's left. He hasn't actually put out a statement yet as to why or what the reasons. He's just sort of said they're using a different system now. But Justin Buchholz has moved out. So funny, the old snake in the grass. A few seem to be leaving Team Alpha Male. It's probably nothing to do with that. It's just coincidence of timing and stuff like that. But
who knows what's happening. It's weird though, because he's been around that team for forever, pretty much, and he kind of became the head coach, de facto head coach, and during a spell where they kind of done pretty well. Justin Buchholz seemed to be leading the charge, so it's a weird one. I know a lot of people will be upset with it. I know Andrew Murphy commented on our post with a little sad face because he actually was over in Team Alpha Male for a while.
Gosh, so
he must have had some kind of relationship with him or was at least coached by him. So I know a lot of people will be upset with it, but who knows what the deal is. And I'd say it's just bad timing. I wouldn't really say anything else. I think
I imagine so. Just to briefly push at a couple of things said here. There's only a couple. What do you think of Colby Covington's antics? He is a pure dickhead. I agree with that. Absolutely. What he said about Mike Perry and his missus is absolute. It's gone too far. There's trash talking and there's just being a fucking cunt.
Yeah, there's trash talking and then there's just being not clever and attacking people who...
Yeah.
Like... Why? I don't know why you're attacking his girlfriend. Like it's almost like, do you ever like watch a comedian and they're talking about how to tell a joke? You don't tell a joke and the butt of the joke or the intended target is somebody that's lower than you or lower thing. You kind of have to go above, and that's just going below the belt. And but he's really shown. Like, what's funny about it is that he's getting all his attention, but what's going to happen is everybody's going to be rooting against him, and that can be a good thing too. Sometimes people say the cheers are their applause, so that's what he said. Like he's getting attention, but it's just coming across more so as, oh man, you're being a dick just for the sake of being a dick. It's not really the best look, I don't think.
Yeah, very true. So the fights Saturday night, I'm looking forward to them. I think we're going to see Cyborg do her thing. I think we're going to see Atlanta the Slaughter Butcher. You never know in MMA. If you haven't listened to this week's show, go back and listen to it. Jimmy Smith was on with Ben Forsyth, who was fighting on Cage Legacy in Drogheda on the 10th of March was on, and Daniel Mulcahy was on with us as well. Going on about Referee's Corner with Emma and Stevens, breaking it down with the elbows, with the knees, all all the in and outs of the correct protocol that was followed, etc. So I done a Dan there. I said etc. But go check it out. Dan is always incredibly knowledgeable in breaking down what referees done, the reason why they done it, and basically everything they did was brilliant. So go check that out. If you're still listening here, hit subscribe. Just there, look, subscribe. Just hit there. And then do the same on Twitter at @talk_fight, and on Facebook and everywhere else we're obviously Fight Talk as well. Well, hit subscribe there, and if you're listening, we're available on audio as well. So all our episodes are always up on your iTunes, your Android, whatever you listen on your podcasts on. We're on them apps. Just type in obviously Fight Talk. But this has just been a live chat because we didn't get time to break down UFC 222 on this week's episode. So Rob, pleasure talking fights.
Pleasure, man.
Peace.